You hear it all the time in the dog community, right? Like this pervasive idea of it's all how you raise them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The whole theory is that if you know, take your puppy to socialization classes and practice positive reinforcement, just do everything by the book, you are practically guaranteed to end up with this perfectly stable, predictable companion.
It's an incredibly comforting thought. I mean,
Yeah.
you put in the hard work during those early developmental windows, so you expect a guaranteed return on your investment.
Right, but when you step into the world of primitive breeds, that whole blank slate theory just completely falls apart.
Completely.
It's wild how often people push that myth, just like completely ignoring that social maturity at 2 years old is basically a biological wrecking ball.
It really is.
You can have this super sweet puppy who loves every dog at the park, and then seemingly overnight, boom, a genetic imperative takes over.
And for owners who aren't prepared for that biological shift, well, it feels like a failure.
Yeah, they blame themselves.
Exactly. They assume they did something wrong in training, when in reality they're just witnessing hundreds of years of carefully selected genetics waking up.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We're exploring the really intense and honestly highly misunderstood world of the Akita.
Yes.
We're putting a laser focus on same-sex aggression, or SSA, and the very real, sometimes really harsh realities of managing a multi-dog household for you guys listening.
Because the stakes with a breed this powerful are incredibly high. Like, a minor scuffle between two golden retrievers is one thing,
Right,
right?
a lot of noise, maybe some spit.
Yeah, exactly. But a conflict involving an Akita requires a completely different level of understanding and, well, strict environmental management.
So to get to the bottom of this for you, we are pulling from a really rich stack of sources today. We're looking at historical breed profiles, some deep behavioral analyses from canine ethologists.
And those highly specific veterinary protocols.
Yes, the veterinary protocols for interdog aggression. We're leaning heavily on the comprehensive guidelines from Pablo River Veterinary for those.
Which are fantastic, by the way.
They really are. So the mission today is to look at exactly why these dogs behave the way they do and give you exact science-backed protocols for establishing peace under your roof.
And, to really grasp what an Akita is doing in a modern living room, we first have to look at what their ancestors were doing in the snowy mountains of Japan centuries ago.
Right.
You really have to understand the Matagi.
Right. So these were the traditional hunters in the rugged Toshoku region of northern Japan.
Yes, highly skilled hunters. And they relied on the ancestors of the modern Akita, the Matagi Inu, to track and hold really large, dangerous game in deep snow.
We're talking wild boar, the Japanese sorrow, and, like, most notably, the massive Asian black bear.
The Asian black bear, yeah.
Mhm.
So they needed a dog with just an off-the-charts prey drive,
Insane stamina.
insane stamina, and absolutely zero hesitation when facing down a predator that could easily kill it. They had to be entirely fearless.
Wow.
I mean, they were bred to track a bear silently, flesh it out, and then just keep it at bay until the human hunters arrived.
But the breed didn't just stay in the mountains, right? Because during the Edo period, under the rule of the Satok clan, dog fighting became a prominent way to nurture the fighting spirit of the samurai vassals.
Precisely.
Meaning they took a dog that was already genetically hardwired to fight bears and then started crossing it with heavy gladiator breeds to make it even more lethal.
Yeah. They introduced breeds like the Tosa and Western Mastiffs.
Mm.
And this brutal period of historical selection etched some very specific traits deep into the Akita's DNA.
Which brings us to the SSA.
Right. One is same-sex aggression, this profound, almost reflexive intolerance for dogs of the same sex. And the other is a highly modified conflict response.
How so?
Well, in a tense situation, the vast majority of dogs will choose flight if given the option, They want to get away.
So run away to fight another day.
Exactly. But the Akita was bred to freeze and stand its ground. They just do not back down.
Which brings us back to that biological wrecking ball I mentioned earlier. Because an 8-week-old Akita puppy isn't displaying any of those Edo period gladiator traits. They're just, a normal, playful puppy.
And that latency period is exactly what catches owners off guard. Interdog aggression within a household rarely shows up in young puppies. It's triggered by a developmental stage called social maturity.
And that hits when exactly?
Typically between 18 to 36 months of age.
See, I think a lot of people confuse this with sexual maturity, which happens way earlier, like around 6 to 9 months.
Yes, they do.
But social maturity is an entirely different neurological event.
It is a massive physiological and structural shift in the brain. During that 18 to 36-month window, the dog's brain transitions from juvenile deference to adult independence.
So it's not just a phase?
No, no. Hormonal cascades literally rewire their neural pathways, drastically increasing their drive for territoriality and resource control.
Wow.
They are biologically driven to establish their permanent rank in the world. You simply cannot socialize that away.
Okay, so wait, let me get this straight. You're telling me an owner could do everything right. Puppy classes, perfect socialization, and at 2 years old, the genetic programming just flips a switch.
It does. It's like having a human teenager who suddenly decides they want to pay the mortgage and run the house.
Oh man, that's a terrifying thought.
Right. So if you have two dogs in the house, this is usually when the subtle passive-aggressive behavior starts.
Usually, so it doesn't just start with a massive fight.
Rarely. I mean, if the Akita is the younger dog, it begins with micro-challenges.
Like what?
Well, the Akita might step into a doorway and just freeze, blocking the older dog from passing. Or they might claim a high-value resting spot, steal toys, or offer a hard stare.
Oh, right. Because in canine ethology, prolonged eye contact is like a severe challenge.
Exactly. It's a huge deal.
Hmm.
Or, on the flip side, the older dog senses that chemical shift in the younger Akita's brain and decides to launch a preemptive strike.
Because it feels its historical status being threatened.
Yes. And because the Akita is genetically programmed to stand its ground rather than flee, like we talked about, a minor dispute escalates into a major battle.
Which leaves the human owner in a very dangerous position. If this biological drive for status is inevitable, how on earth can someone safely keep two dogs under one roof?
Well, because the dogs are locked in a biological dispute over status, the human has to step in and become the ultimate, undeniable tiebreaker.
Okay, this is where we get into the Pablo River Veterinary Protocol, right?
Yes.
And for anyone listening who loves animals, this approach is going to sound incredibly counterintuitive to how we operate as humans. Because to stop the fighting, the protocol dictates that the human must choose an order of hierarchy and actively reinforce one dog over the other.
And the crucial rule here is that you must reinforce the dog that is physically best able to maintain social status in a fight.
Okay, hold on. That feels incredibly unfair.
I know.
Human instinct is to support the underdog or, protect the older dog who was there first. Like, if I have a sweet 10-year-old Labrador who was here first and a 2-year-old Akita starts pushing him around.
The protocol says you have to back the 2-year-old Akita.
But why are we rewarding the bigger, tougher dog? If I coddle the older dog, aren't I helping?
No. If you do that, you're basically putting a crown on a king who has no army to defend his throne.
Oh, wow. That's a brilliant way to put it.
Projecting human morality, concepts like fairness or seniority onto canine pack dynamics, it will get a dog killed. Status in the dog world is about physical capability and resource control.
So the Akita looks at the older dog and knows, for a fact, that the older dog cannot defend the high status I'm giving it.
Yes, and the stronger dog views your artificial elevation of the weaker dog as an unstable pack structure. They won't accept it.
They just keep challenging.
They will relentlessly challenge the weaker dog to correct the imbalance. And because the weaker dog can't physically defend that artificial status, you end up with severe damaging attacks. Basically, by trying to be fair, you are actively causing the violence.
That is so hard to wrap your head around, but it makes total sense ethologically. So how does enforcing status actually work on a neurological level?
Sure.
Like, how does feeding the stronger dog first or making sure they walk slightly out in front actually stop a fight from happening?
It comes down to removing ambiguity. By controlling spatial movement and primary access to resources, you're sending a clear, undeniable signal to both dogs' brains that the pack structure is stable.
So when the stronger dog gets the food first, let on the door first, greeted first.
You're settling the debate so they don't have to.
Right. And for the subordinate dog, doesn't that make them depressed?
Actually, it alters their neurochemistry for the better. Once the hierarchy is clear and uncontested by the human, the subordinate dog's chronic fight-or-flight anxiety turns off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't want to fight a losing battle. They usually feel profound relief when the human takes the burden of status off their shoulders.
Okay, but there is one major exception to this rule outlined in the veterinary protocols, and it's kind of a grim one.
It is.
It's if the challenged dog is completely submissive-like, they're rolling over on their back, urinating, looking away, fully surrendering, but the aggressor keeps attacking anyway.
Right. That crosses the line from normal status-seeking behavior into out-of-context, highly dangerous aggression.
Because a normal dispute should end there.
Exactly. A normal canine dispute ends, the second one dog fully surrenders. If the aggressor ignores those surrender signals and continues to attack, you cannot reinforce them.
Because it's not about status anymore.
No, in that scenario, you are dealing with a pathology. You must either reinforce the submissive dog while keeping them strictly separated, or realistically, you have to rehome one of them. Left together, they will likely kill each other.
Which brings us to the reality that even with a perfectly managed hierarchy, animals are unpredictable. Like, management just isn't foolproof.
No, it's not.
Someone drops a piece of high-value steak on the floor, or the dogs bump into each other in a narrow hallway bottleneck, and boom, a reflex triggers that bypasses all that carefully established status.
And that is why the physical management rules for households dealing with same-sex aggression must be absolute.
Yeah.
The dogs must be completely separated whenever they are unsupervised.
We're talking heavy-duty crates, secure closed doors,
Yeah.
tall baby gates.
You do not leave them loose together to run to the grocery store, and you do not leave them loose while you take a shower.
Speaking of everyday management, there is one tip from the sources that I thought was just brilliant: the bells.
Ah, yes. Putting different sounding bells on each dog's collar.
Right, so if the Akita wears like a deep brass bell and the other dog wears a lighter chime, you essentially have a constant auditory map of your house.
It acts as a fantastic early warning system. You can hear if the aggressor is slowly approaching the other dog's resting area or lingering near a choke point, like a hallway.
So you can intervene with a verbal command before a stare turns into a physical lunge.
Exactly.
But okay, let's talk about the absolute worst case scenario. You're in the room, the fight breaks out. These are large, incredibly powerful dogs, and a fight sounds like a bomb going off.
It's terrifying.
The veterinary protocol here is the SAN-TOP-P acronym: Stop, Observe, Plan, Act Safely. But let's be good. How do you actually observe and plan when you have maybe 3 seconds before a severe injury happens?
You have to train yourself to execute those steps instantaneously. And it begins with the stop phase, which is arguably the hardest.
But you just want to jump in.
Right. You have to freeze your human instinct to intervene directly. The golden rule across all behavioral and veterinary sources is that you never, ever reach between fighting dogs with your bare hands.
Reaching in to grab a collar during a dog fight is, it's like trying to catch a falling kitchen knife.
That is a perfect analogy.
It's pure reflex to want to grab it and stop the damage, but you will get sliced. You have to actively train your brain to pull your hands back.
Yes, and the reason for that is a phenomenon called redirected aggression. In the heat of a severe fight, dogs are blinded by adrenaline and survival instincts.
They're just not thinking.
Their sensory processing narrows completely to the threat in front of them. If anything touches them, even the hand of an owner they deeply love, they will reflexively spin and bite it with full force. They literally do not know it is you.
So your hands are tied, figuratively speaking. That moves us to the observe and plan phases. You're quickly scanning the chaos. Who has the upper hand? Is it a locked grip, or are they just sparring? And most importantly, where are my remote control tools?
Remote control tools are essential. In an Akita household, you must have separation tools staged strategically around your home. You act safely by using distance.
Like what? What's the best tool?
One of the most effective tools is a large, heavy blanket.
Just throwing it over them?
Yes. Throwing a heavy blanket completely over the fighting dogs causes sudden darkness and physical confusion. It removes their visual target, which often triggers an instinctual pause long enough for them to separate.
Oh, that makes sense. And if the blanket doesn't work?
You escalate the sensory disruption. A bucket of cold water to the face, or a hose if you're in the yard.
Just shock them out of it.
Exactly. The sudden temperature shock forces a cognitive reset. You can also use a push broom to act as a physical wedge between their bodies without putting your hands near their mouths.
I saw a piece of stiff cardboard or plywood mentioned too.
Yes, you can drop that directly between their faces to break their visual focus. Or you attack their auditory processing with something jarring, like a marine foghorn.
Just something so overwhelmingly loud that it shatters the intense focus of the fight. But once you do get that break, you still don't grab collars.
Never grab the collar. You use a slip lead or a leash looped over the aggressor's head from a distance to secure them and remove them from the room.
The veterinary protocols also note something really vital about post-fight care. If a dog is injured, their pain threshold is completely compromised and their fear is through the roof.
Right.
So even the most docile dog will bite if they are handled while in severe pain.
Which is exactly why you must use a blanket as a makeshift stretcher to move an injured dog and apply a loose muzzle if you have to evaluate their wounds. Your safety has to be secured first. Otherwise, you're in no condition to drive them to the emergency vet.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Look, this is heavy, intense material, but understanding these realities completely shifts how you view canine interactions.
It really does.
You stop expecting them to act like furry humans in a democracy, and you start respecting them as the complex, primal animals they actually are.
It demands a level of fluency in their language.
Mm.
When you understand the biological imperatives of social maturity, and you accept that hierarchy provides them with psychological relief rather than jealousy, well, you become a much more effective, trustworthy leader for those dogs.
Which brings us to a final thought to leave you guys with, kind of circling back to what we discussed about their history.
Yeah, the Mataji.
Right. We learned that the Mataji ancestors of the Akita were bred to hunt bears in the snowy mountains in absolute silence. They were bred to sneak up on massive predators without alerting them.
Yes, and because of that specific historical selection, the behavioral sources note that Nikita's transition from targeting a threat to launching an actual attack is nearly instantaneous.
No warning.
Right. Unlike a hound or a terrier, they do not announce their intentions with a barrage of loud barking or growling.
And that raises such a fascinating point about how we interact with dogs as a whole. I mean, it really makes you wonder, how often do we mislabel a dog's attack as completely unprovoked simply because we humans are only listening for loud auditory warnings?
All the time.
How often are we completely missing the silent body language, the tightening of the commissures around the mouth, the hard stare, the stiffening of the spine, the subtle shift of weight forward onto the toes that the dog has been screaming at us all along?
It is a humbling reminder. We
Yeah.
constantly expect dogs to speak human when it is entirely our responsibility to learn how to speak dog.
Exactly. So the next time you look at that sweet, predictable puppy, remember that timeline. Beneath the fluff, there is an ancient, complex blueprint waiting to unfold. The biological switch is going to flip, but now you know exactly how to manage the change.